In this episode, we explore the dynamics of small organizations with Nazeris compared with large orgs like Atlas Defense Industries. What does it mean to run a small group in such a vast universe? How does experience differ from the management of a massive org with nearly 10,000 members? That's the question to you. How you've got a 30-person org roughly, right?
Somewhere with that, yeah.
And so talk to me about what do you think the differences are between super massive orgs and an org your size?
I mean, there's definitely and I've been in bigger orgs. I've been through like at
Which
least
ones?
six or different ones. I started in Armco, which is
Okay.
headed by or at least the big names in it are Morph Shack and Wasted.
And how big was that org?
I don't know. It was it
It seemed like a
I
lot.
never like looked at how numbers were because like there's
Okay.
always something going on. And I think that's the biggest difference is in bigger orgs you have this kind of like machine that runs and it's very like impersonal. You can find like little friend groups in it, but most of the time it's like there's too many people to count. You have to do a lot of things in this kind of procedural way. When you have smaller orgs, you're able to do something on on one, like know your entire crew and run it that way. Um, for us at NovaForge Industries, we do a lot of things that is so we have a structure that it's team based. So we have like the mining team, the salvage team, the cargo team.
Yeah.
And those the team leads know their entire crew. Wow, we're so small. And then they will put together events and then run those with their entire crew. Most of the time there's plenty of support that other people outside of the team can give, whether it's scanning fighter pilots or whatnot, or just jumping a turret of the ship. So it's very easy to know everyone in the org and to know where everyone should be and their strengths and weaknesses.
So a large org isn't a lot different. We have, we're fast approaching 10,000 members. We should hit that in the next couple weeks. Um, and, we have three main player divisions. Commerce and industry is one. The other one is what we call contract support services, which is kind of the medical and combat gameplay. And then we have an exploration and survey group. So I mean, from that perspective, it's, people tend to specialize. They can cross pollinate and play whatever they want, but
Mm-hmm.
they pick one of those things. And we have the same thing that you do. We have team leads and staff. The thing that we've found that is different is, from running gaming groups for the last 15 years, is that a lot of the times you get an adult, and again, all of our members are adults, with some rare exceptions. The truth is that most adults can only play a couple of nights a week, two or
Mm-hmm.
three, best case, and for 2 or 3 hours a night, if you're lucky. And what we found is that your small group doesn't. You have a small group for each of those nights. It's that you, but if you're in a small org, the number of people that overlap with your night is smaller. And
Mm-hmm.
so you run into you in a 30-man org. The concern would be that you run into a situation where, Wednesday nights there's only two of you on at the
Yeah.
time you want to play,
Mm-hmm.
and the difference in a big org is there's that same 25, 30, 50 people that and play with all the time on Thursday night, just like there is on Friday night, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
different people. And so that's really, from our perspective, the big difference. Um, I don't think that the organization play. I think some of the things that you would see different is that we do bigger things. So most of our operations are by design where it brings together people from all the different areas. So, when we run a mining op, we'll have cargo guys attached to help take the bags off and put new bags on and take those back to get refined. We'll have combat people, we'll have survey people built in that are specialists in that area, and we have team leads that are in part of the operation. But
Yeah.
we'll run 70-man ops,
Oh wow, nice.
twice a week.
Yeah.
And so,
when we go out on jobs, whether it's a cargo mining or salvage job, um, I think mostly salvage right now. It's whoever can. It's either going to be a reclaimer, like a reclaimer, or several vultures, and then somebody or two people from the cargo team will get into C2 or whatnot,
Hmm.
and then all the vultures will come and park next to the or in front of the C2 and will offload and
Yep.
pile up the cargo in the C2. Um, and being the cargo person in the org, there's supposed to be one other, but like we haven't seen him in a while. Um, like not only do I run the org, but also like cargo has been always the thing I've wanted to do. There was a app you could run alongside Star Citizen back in the baby PU and social module days when those two things were in
Yep.
existence, where you could go to different satellites and different space stations, and you would go over to that other app and say, "Okay, I'm here picking up X cargo," and so it'd run like a economy aside from the game, so you could
Yep.
play like you're actually cargo hauling. So I was doing that way before cargo was in the game. And finally, now that cargo's in the game, I could sit in a hangar for hours moving cargo. And so most of the time when we run or run jobs, it is slightly um multi multi specialists.
Yep.
Um, but it's very much like we're going to like salvage things or move this amount of boxes. It's very like it's not like, hey, we're going to like do this kind of like overarching like project because we just don't have the manpower to like move projects. We're just going to do like the basic sandbox things.
Well, and that's a good building block for learning how to run operations and grow them. I mean, we do the same thing. It's not any different for us. The only difference is we're probably doing it with a slightly more number of people, and we're doing it more often. And you have people that are able to specialize a little bit more because you've got such a wide group of people. You'll have guys that are not just combat specialists, but they're ground combat specialists, or
Mm,
they're close air support folks that are, they spend all their time figuring out how to drop bombs on turrets and things like that. So when you need to take them down.
yeah, it's interesting because like I already see people wanting to do that. Like there's a couple people in the org that basically don't play because they're like waiting for like I want to just manage base building. Like I
Yep.
want to be the guy you leave at the outpost and I just run the base.
Hey,
That's all he wants to do.
we're doing that in house today. We have a whole S4 shop, which is logistics,
Mhm.
and in the org, and they manage gear and equipment so that when we get new members or we have ops, you go down to the hangar of one of the S4 guys and they'll pull up um, cargo boxes of weapons and armor and water and ammo and the whole 9 yards, and we're able to just, here's your fire team's box, go take that and take it over to your ship and take off. And so, we prep and do all of that stuff, and we're getting ready for base building, which we think is probably right around the corner,
Hopefully. That in the
hopefully.
galaxy.
But yeah, so I mean, big orgs are not that much different. It's just, so from my perspective, I don't see a lot of differences. But from what's your perspective, what do you think are the things that small orgs have that big orgs don't? Can you kind of contrast that for me?
Um I'm trying to think of how to put it into words though. Uh
That aren't completely offensive?
yeah,
Go ahead, be offensive. I'm a
like
jerk.
from my experience with big org, they're very impersonal. They're
Really?
very yeah, it's very much like go sign in at the front desk and go like take your ticket and have a seat. It's very much not um like knowing like given an op a night. It's not like everyone knows each other. It's not like the whoever's running the org has any connection to the people who's going to show up. He's just going to show up, tell everyone what their job is, and ban people when they get out of line. Um,
Wow.
with your reactions, I'm starting to
that
think I have a really bad track
that
record with orgs.
that doesn't sound. I can't. I don't have any experience with that. I mean, obviously, at scale, the things that I focus on day to day are different than you do as a small org leader. A lot of what I focus on are big picture, long term objectives. You know, what do we need to be doing now to be ready for this 18 months from now? There's a lot of that in my bailiwick, but I mean, here's a perfect example. What percentage of people that apply to your org do you turn away?
Um, to turn away. I don't know if anyone's been turned. So our biggest problem is people show up. People
Yep.
will, and we actually have like I'm gonna call it fake interview process.
Okay.
Because it's supposed to be like a in-lore company based in Terra. Um, and they'll do that. They'll go through the thing and then never show up again.
Really?
And especially now, there is, as far as like active people in the last week, we've had two, including myself.
Really? So we've got just shy of 9,950 members. My my monthly active, they have 1 hour of activity for the last 4 weeks or more,
Mm-hmm.
is about 1,400 people. And so that means that for 4 weeks running, they've had at least 1 hour of interaction with the org. And so, yeah, that's crazy. And here's another thing that's different about a large org. We have that many people. That sounds like a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We return down 40% of the people that apply. 6,500 people have been ADI is not the right fit for them. The people that we've rejected from the org would be the 5th largest org in the game.
Wow.
So we interview people, not a fake interview. We actually interview people before they get membership access.
Yeah.
And get any Discord access or any of that. And because of that, we don't have jerks. And we have a zero tolerance policy for people that are jerks. You know,
Yeah. Like,
you get one warning and then you get the boot.
yeah. We've only had to get rid of one person, and mostly because they were trying to like take over the org.
Those people don't even join because they come in and see what we're doing and they realize that that's not feasible.
Yeah, it was my fault because like when I started the org, I was super excited. I'm like, I'm gonna get all my friends and we're gonna like build this org together.
Yeah.
And so he got in at like the executive level.
Oh.
So it's not a fun time.
Well, I'm sorry you had to kick somebody.
Yeah, but since then, like our biggest problem, and this might derail the entire purpose of this entire show, but
No,
like,
let's talk about it. That's the whole
um,
purpose is to talk. You're a small org leader that's got about 30 members. I'm a
mhm,
large org leader that's got, 9,900 members. And I think there's a big disconnect between small org leaders and big org leaders, what we think of each other. And
mhm.
that's the whole purpose of this.
Yeah, like our biggest problem is getting people active. Like I said, in the last couple weeks, like definitely the last month, maybe in the last 3 months, we've had 3 people active.
Slow season will do that to you. And there is a
Um,
slow season in Star Citizen.
yeah, and it's definitely now.
No, we
Um,
just came out of it. Your
well, I mean, yeah, I
activity
mean the
should
last
be
three
should
months. Yeah.
well, yeah. No, I mean, so we see a substantial drop off after March 31st.
Mhm.
It bottoms out sometime in mid June. It's a flatlined, very low. We're lucky if we have 800 actives a month for July and August. You get past Labor Day and it starts to tick back up, and then we get into CitizenCon season and it just takes off like a rocket ship.
Hmm.
I mean, we added 9 new people yesterday.
Oh wow.
So, and we'll add more tomorrow or today, tomorrow, and the next day with being CitizenCon and all the promotions. So, I mean, but yeah, no, I mean, and then we have really high activity until March 1st, and then it tapers off a little bit to the 31st, and then it goes way down.
Hmm.
So we call September through March busy season, and everything else is slow season. And we just know that we're going to have low activity during those slow periods. And obviously there's variations with patches because you and I both
Oh
will
yeah.
agree that there are good patches and good patches are great and bad patches kill activity.
Let's see. What is the actual player count?
26?
26 in NovaForge?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it
that's
more
right,
than
because you
that?
can see it on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking
I
up
did my
the
research.
yeah, you like, I forgot like you can like do that. So we have like 17 contractors. Contractors are people basically that don't want to do the 1 hour a week.
Okay.
Um, and we have 31 people, so that's kind of the disconnect. Like Discord is our main platform we run things through
Yeah.
instead of through the website because the website doesn't do anything.
Fair
So
enough.
when we recruit people directly into Discord so we can talk to them and do the little interview thing there.
Sure.
Um, so the current people that have the role to be able to clock time is 31.
Okay.
And
How
like I
many of
said,
those are affiliates?
I haven't checked.
I think if
Um,
you take out your affiliates, it's probably 25 or 26 people you have.
that would make sense, yeah.
We don't count affiliates towards membership numbers.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like we have so many hopes and aspirations that just
Mhm.
can't materialize because there's no point in like working on like one of the big things I wanted to work on was an employee framework. That's what I called it.
Mhm.
Which is an entire like scheme of being able to um know different people's like skills and what they want to do and what they're good at so that a team lead isn't gonna say, okay, you're in the turret, but he's terrible at being a turret gunner. Um so that didn't happen because that has happened and it kind of bites us in the butt when we're trying to like run things. It's like people love these things, but they're bad at them. So we wanted to do training days and like have a visual thing that they can say, see, I have this skill. Um,
Yeah, we have that.
and then a way to for every employee to know where everyone else stands and how to get through the ranks if there are ranks to get through.
Okay.
But there's no point in working that out if we have nobody active and definitely nobody active over the month. And so the need to build any of the stuff that we see in bigger orgs has just kind of like stagnated the entire presence of the entire org on like every platform.
There's definitely a chicken and egg problem in
Hmm.
that, you know what the egg is supposed to look like, but without all the people there to help build the egg,
Hmm.
it's it's like how do you eat a whale? It's one bite at a time, but you don't have enough people to take bites. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, big orgs, medium-sized orgs can accomplish that. Big orgs can accomplish that, and then they specialize.
Hmm.
So, in our environment, we have a programming team. We've got people that are staff members, but they're coders, mostly in real life, but some as part, some as have picked it up as a hobby. And so they work on programming issues. We have a social media PR team, and creative team. And so we've got one of our things is that we'll find people in our community that are interested in streaming or interested in YouTube videos. And if we think that they've got what it takes, we'll bring them in and kind of mentor them to get them to Twitch partner or to get them where they're monetized on YouTube and help them, by doing the coordination stuff amongst them. And, so we're able to specialize because we've got enough people that we have people that are experts in that space.
Yeah.
And so, and then we've got people that are what I like to call the paperwork guys, the guys that love theory crafting. They love thinking through how do you solve this problem so that we have a baseline to start to test towards. And so, as a large org, one of the things that turns off a lot of people when they show up at ADI is we're certification based. And that is, you've got to, before we put you in an op doing a job, you've got to show that you have mastered the ability to do that job.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, then you don't do it.
And
And,
that's basically exactly what I wrote into the framework.
yeah, but we've been implementing that for 8 years now.
Hmm.
And so, as I said, I think there's a lot of the community building that we're talking about here is the same no matter the size of the org.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how many man hours you can toss at the problem every month,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
is
agree. Yeah.
and how much specialization that you have.
Mm-hmm.
We lost at the beginning of this year. We lost our one of our senior board members. He was second in charge of ADI. He was a former brigadier general in the Air Force, and his name was Jolly. And he lost a fight with cancer back in
Oh
January,
man.
and it hurt us all a lot. But that's the level of people that we were able to recruit. Right now our second in command or deputy commander is a former colonel in the Air Force. And did stuff with JSOC that I can't talk about. And so, not a trigger puller, but he was in that community. And so, we've got these guys that are top notch folks that we've been able to recruit. And so they come in and bring all this wealth of knowledge about how do you organize things? How do you boil things down to get to its simplest form so that everybody can understand it and you can communicate that very clearly and quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but those are the same problems you're having, and we
Yeah.
have. Let me be very clear. We, we, we don't have this perfected by any stretch of the imagination. We run into problems every day, just like you do. They're
I
just
can
different
imagine. And like
problems.
when big orgs have a derailment problem, it's a whole freight train derailing. It's not just we pulled off the wrong turn.
Well, I mean, but the truth is the big orgs don't have derailments. If you look at here's a question. If you were to go back 4 years ago and look at the top 10 largest orgs by main members,
Mm-hmm.
and you go look at the top 10 by main members today, how many orgs do you think have changed spots out of the top 10?
One.
Uh, One.
Yeah, because I think like was it tested?
Nova.
It's always at first, and then
Well,
there's the
actually, test
griefer.
is second now.
Oh, test is
Nova
second.
passed text. Yeah.
I've heard so many bad things about Nova, even though their graphics are amazing.
Well, they're okay guys. They're European, the leadership, and it's a small leadership team, so they're hard to reach out to sometimes.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's Germans are an acquired taste.
I
Nothing
mean,
wrong
like
with them.
everyone has their own acquired taste.
Sure.
There are so many people like there are very specific people who really don't like Americans for obvious reasons because they're like they're loud and like most of the time really
Obnoxious
stupid.
and yeah,
Um, like everyone has their little quirks that
sure.
everyone else needs to get acquired.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of Germans in our org. So, and I even say it to them, they're an acquired taste for us Americans. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just,
No.
and once you get to know them, it's like, wow, you guys are really good at some of this stuff. It's just getting over that friction that you
Mhm.
have in that environment. And so, if you're in a large org, you have to be able to do that because we've got people all over the world.
Yeah.
And, we've got people that, here's a funny thing. ADI is like the fourth largest Australian org in the game.
Hmm.
But we don't have that many Australians by percentage. It's just that, but it doesn't take a lot of Australians in the game to represent a large chunk of them.
That's because no one puts servers and no one can like no game puts servers um
In
Australia
Yep.
specifically.
Yep. So they've
Like,
got
hey, you want
high
to connect to the
pings.
game? Connect to the West Coast.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. you know.
and so like a lot of games end up being like terrible performance, not to mention the hardware cost, because everything's way more expensive over there. And then you have like the software cost also is a lot higher because it's the cost of buying it plus the cost of shipping it
Yep.
or the cost of transferring if you don't have an office in that country.
I agree completely. So why do you think it is some players prefer smaller orgs versus larger ones?
Hmm.
Why do you prefer a smaller org over a larger one?
I don't. I would love if I had ADI's numbers. Because I set up NovaForge and I
Yep.
foresee it in the future. I always have this dream of the entire org that it is a company that can like field several Hull E's and have this entire fleets fielded at a time on these different major projects, an entire
Yeah.
network of bases and things. Like I see this thing, I want to get there. Um, but I am not, there's a lot of people that we have that not a lot of people. There's a few that we've met specifically that have come into NoForge that specifically like smaller orgs because you can talk to you have direct contact with everyone in the ladder. You can just message like, the highest up to or anyone in the leader team and they have basically they can reach the entire org all at once. It's not like, hey, don't ping the X people. Don't bother X amount of people, which I have seen in many other Discords. Like, hey, like don't message the owner, don't message like anyone in the executive team. You go through the mods for that. Um,
Well, I can tell you why we have that rule. I woke up about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and had 90 DMs sitting in my inbox
yeah,
when I
like
woke up.
it's not a malicious thing, but
No,
it's at some point the logistics of answering 100 pings a day is or like 100 pings an hour even for some people. It's infeasible.
it
There's a
is.
point of logistics that needs to like, hey, I'm a single person and I know I can train someone to answer the hey, can I use their logo in a video kind of thing. Like,
Well, and that's what we've done is that we empower. So we have a large staff. So how many people would you say are on staff in your org?
I think we have three executives, including myself,
Okay.
and then which basically run the logistics of the backroom stuff of the
Hmm.
org. And then we have one team lead who's basically our well, he's our most active member, even including all the executive stuff. Like he's on almost every day.
Okay.
But that also is like all the playable like hours spent in the last couple months.
Sure. So we've got about 80 team leads. Um, Everybody that goes into staff in ADI has to go through a 8 to 12 week training course that is a pass fail. And probably 35 or 40% of people that go into that fail.
Hmm.
Um, the then we have assistant directors who are the next step up, and we've got
Mhm.
about 40 of those. And then directors, which we kind of call the first level of single point of failure. These are people that are over something where they're the bottleneck.
Okay.
We've got about 12, 13 of those. And then senior directors and board members, there's 8 of us at the senior level. And so, um, yeah, and we have rules. But the thing is we empower our team leads and our assistant directors to answer 99.9% of questions
Hmm.
and for them to give somebody the ability of, I don't know the answer to that. Here's the person that will. DM
Yeah.
them. And
Hmm.
so we don't make people wait. So I still get 24 DMs a day from members, but they're pre-vetted from the junior staff that are covering the how do I do X that every member in the org knows, or every staff member knows how to do. And so I sit down and talk to members every day, voice and take DMs and the whole 9 yards all day long, just like you do, I'm sure. Um,
When I get them.
when you get them, I do not
Yeah,
have
it's
a,
ADI seems very, very strange to me as a big org because like a lot of the time, um, like the owners of the orgs and like the first like 10% of the org is just like untouchable. It like they sit amongst their cap of population that they control and they just basically say, hey, we're doing a thing, you show up or you don't. And they just kind of they even have like their own like little in groups they play with, and then they just need like peons to join them to like run a turret. Like that's my most of my experience with big orgs.
oh no, no. I mean, obviously we're the senior folks are all close because we have to trust each other and
Mhm.
we have to trust each other's judgment. Um, but no, most of our org operations are ran by team leads and assistant directors. And senior leadership will only run supermassive combat orgs that are complicated. You know, so like overdrive events where we had 60 or 70 people and we needed to have fleet guys that were securing the outside of the station, and then we needed to land a platoon of infantry onto the station.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, those type of missions.
It's multifaceted.
The multifaceted kind of missions. Those are the things that we would lead. We've got, I mean, not to brag, but our team leads run all of our training. So
Very nice.
we've got 5 or 6 training events every week that are scheduled both US and European centric time zones. And so they handle all of that at that level. That's the expectation. And you know, assistant directors help out with that and kind of help with some of the logistics around it. But the senior leadership really is there to review stuff and help them and you know, provide them guidance on the stuff that they need guidance on, and then tag along and give them pointers. So, you know, we don't have cliques like you would see in a small org, I guess, or a medium-sized org. It's there's a good mixing of new people and people that have been there a long time. One of the things that we do is we don't allow silos. So if you're a team lead, I'm sorry?
I'm not familiar with that term in org structure.
Vertical movement. So you know how a grain silo is a big tall cylinder. If somebody's a team lead in our org, they have to go and take a tour somewhere else in the org before they're eligible for us to move up to assistant director.
Oh.
And then when they become an assistant director, they go somewhere else, a third place in the org, to be an assistant director. And so we purposely do that to not allow cliques to build inside of little pockets.
That makes sense.
The staff gets shuffled around things that they want to do. I mean, nobody puts a gun to their head and say, you got to go over here and do exploration if you hate it. But you take tours. So you'll start as a team lead and you'll get, you know, one of your tours is you're going to go work in a staff shop. And so we use a military structure, because a lot of us are prior military, in that we have these teams that do things for the whole org. And so like S1 is personnel. They handle all the personnel issues for the whole org, instead of having, you know, somebody in each of the divisions or teams, as you call it, having to deal with, my password doesn't work, I can't figure out how to log into this, or I changed my Discord name. Those guys handle all of that 100%. Wow. We've got our intelligence group. We've got our operations and training team, which is S3. We've got our S4, which is logistics and base building kind of stuff. We've got S5, which is our diplomatic and public relations folks. We've got S6, which are programmers. And then we got a couple of empty slots we're waiting on development in the game. And then finally we have S9, which is our streamers, PR, graphic designers, all those creative types. And so people take tours in those shops to move up in the org, and then they'll get shuffled back to a division or to a combat group or something like that. So that there's, you know, because we want, when someone is an assistant director or a director, we want them to have a lot of visibility into how all different facets of the org work, so that they're, you know, they don't have tunnel vision, and also that they make friends in, you know, in these different silos as they move through. And so that's from our perspective, that's really critical, because you know, you see in a lot of orgs, as you described, where you have cliques of leadership, and you know, if you're not on their in crowd, you don't move up. And we don't have that. You know, if you're wanting to be in staff, you go through a training program where you go through the training program, and if your numbers don't match what are the requirements, you don't get into staff, period. There's nobody that can put a finger on that.
I imagine it also stops the whole, for lack of a better term, like nepotism that one would get with, like, they have their, like, people they like working with within their, let's say it's just cargo, and then they move up within it. Well, they're gonna uplift those people with them, and they're gonna keep those guys closer. And it was just basically, they would have more pull without being in the leadership because they have this person that's close by but in that leadership position. So I imagine
Yeah,
that would help with that a lot.
correct, because they can't move into leader. You can't pull somebody up into leadership. They've got to go over and go through the training program that is ran by a separate group of people.
That's really cool. ADI just sounds like a like well, I don't have any military experience, but it sounds like a military experience version of what I would build.
Well, but we're not role players. We're here to play a game. We don't pretend to, that we're doing anything else. The US government spent a lot of money training a lot of us how to organize and operate.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured we might as well put that education to good use.
Yeah.
And so, we don't use military ranks. We don't call people sir. We don't have sergeants or any of that stuff. We've got people that are in positions of responsibility and accountability. And that's how we treat them. If you're in leadership, you're accountable and responsible to the members. And, and at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what's in the best long-term interest of the org.
Mm-hmm.
And so but it's taken us, we're 11 years old. So, and as a Star Citizen group. And so it's taken us it's been a long, windy road. You go through trouble. Like you, at one point we were a small org. When we started ADI, I got kicked got dragged kicking and screaming because I was not a big Chris Roberts fan, still or not a super huge Chris Roberts fan. Never played Wing Commander or Freelancer. But I got kicked in to run, got dragged over with some buddies to run this. And we sat down and said, okay, we're going to do this. And I was like, okay, let's put together about 100 guys before we go over there. And so that's what we did.
Hmm.
And so, and I even have the PowerPoint. I'll share it with you sometime that we made
great.
to present to those 100 guys and say, we want to do this. So
it's awesome. I really hope I can most of what I do, like whether it's my content creation or my org, it just seems like me trying to spin my tires and getting absolutely nowhere. Um, it's been really interesting trying to find how to attract people to the org. Um, and then I see bigger orgs like you said, you have 9 people a day coming into the org, and you said what 10% or something of those are turned away or something. 40% of those are turned away. God,
it's actually 38.5% is our
38 and a
running
half.
average.
And I just see those numbers I'll take your discards.
But would you want to?
No, not technically, because if you're discarding them, there's a reason. And we do have like communication policies and stuff, but it's really basic. Um Basically hey, most stuff flies right now just because we don't have enough people to kick people. If you're running a fighter or something during an op, we can't afford not to have you. And so we're just grasping at anyone who wants to show up, which does bite us a lot. There's a lot of the time when we're in a mission and somebody's just getting all angry at, bugs or something. And we try and run a more clean, what's it called? Grammar wise, comms. But
Okay.
they'll start disrupting it, and everyone else kind of gets quiet while they're trying to throw a hissy fit. And it's but we can't not have them because we'd have 33% of the entire op just gone.
Wow. I'm so glad I don't have that problem. I'm
Thanks.
sorry. I'm going to be honest.
No, yeah, no,
I do not want to be in your
It's a
shoes.
not good feeling. It'd be great if we could just say, hey, either clean up, don't do this on comms, and stay on task when you're on a job, or have these training sessions and say, hey, if you're not good enough, you gotta need to do a few more training sessions before you get going. It'd be great to actually have that kind of gatekeeping to keep everyone else's gameplay joyful. They want to have a good time. Star Citizen's already fickle enough without players getting in and causing their own trouble. And a good majority of the people who play, when we were having 4 to 7 people every Monday. Those were the days. Um,
Those days are coming back.
hopefully we can get like everyone like just evaporated over the course of the year.
Yeah, over the summer.
And hopefully like when they do their ops, like most of them like to do the game.
Sure.
But when like someone starts disrupting stuff, like
It depresses your activity levels.
yeah,
So you know how you solve that problem?
you get rid of the person.
People that are depressing your activity levels.
Makes sense.
I'm
Makes
just going
sense.
to be honest. You
Yeah.
wonder how we turn away that many people. And let me make no bones about it. A good chunk of those are self-selection. They come in, they hear the pitch, and they're like, nope, not for me. And it's like, great. You know, here's some other orgs you might like based off of what you told us. We wish you the best of luck. Go have fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that we're elitist and we only want the cream of the crop. We take brand new players that don't know how to play the game. We care
Great
about
players. Like what a lot of new players will get into the game, learn it, and then be like your most active members for the next month.
Sure,
Like I
but
I've I have nothing but good things to say about like new members. Like they are like new players. Because like they're there to learn their new game. Like they want to get into it.
but the trick is converting them not for the next month, for them to be active for the next year.
Mhm.
You know, it's how, you know, finding the niche that they're really happy about and making sure that you've got stuff for them to do every week so that they're coming back and interacting every week, and making sure you've got a community that's constantly talking about stuff they're interested in so that they're interacting with your community every day. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Is, you know, you run into this chicken or egg problem, and sometimes you gotta pedal like there's no tomorrow to keep your activity level up until it starts to take, you know, until the engine kicks in and starts taking you down the road. That's the secret that big orgs have, is that, you know, you hop on and say hello in our org chat, which is our member chat, and you'll have 20 people within 30 seconds respond, hey, how you doing today?
Hmm.
You know, that's the, you know, because that's the thing that small orgs, I would assume, are having problems with, is
Yeah,
that
like
you're
when someone joins the server, it does put out like, hey, someone joined the server message. And you'll see 2 or 3 of us instantly almost within the hour kind of stop getting cooked on my thing. Say hi, welcome in, but like after that, just ghost. Like they don't say nothing, we don't say nothing. Yeah.
so you have all these people that can watch what you're doing on your Discord server, see who's playing Star Citizen, the whole 9 yards, and you don't know who they are.
I mean, if they're playing, I
No, I
don't
mean, do you allow unknown people to be on your Discord server and be able to see your guys' members?
I don't think so. No, it's pretty locked down. Like
Okay,
the who
but
like the uh joining the Discord, like there's only like 3 channels you can get to. And
okay, but
those are specifically
what
like not
members
even
show up
contractors.
on those channels?
You
Are
know,
those channels open to all the members? Because what you probably have is pirate orgs and griefers joining your Discord and counting who's playing Star Citizen sitting in that channel without saying anything.
hmm.
Because we catch them doing that. And the reason I know that is because we've locked down our Discord so that when you join as a new member, you can only see staff. You can't see any of the members that are connected to our Discord. You can't interact with any of the members in our Discord until you go through the vetting process.
Interesting. I
Because we see spies come in and connect to our Discord server. The other thing is that if you don't become a member within 14 days, your Discord access gets bumped.
hmm. Sounds a very good idea. Apparently, I just
So,
yeah, I need to take like a seminar on how to run an org from you or something.
well, I mean, that's the whole point of this discussion, is to talk about the differences, you know, so people can see the differences.
So yeah, even non-members can see members. So yeah,
Exactly. So they
that's
know
definitely gonna
everybody
be
on your
something we're
group
locking
that's,
down after this.
yeah. And so one person that connects, or a bot that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
connects, can sit and scrape all of your activity data to know when you guys are active, who's active.
Hmm.
You know, if you were running an intelligence team, that might be something that they do on other Discord servers so that they have intel on activity levels on that org.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, hint.
Great. Now I'm worried. Now I have guilt.
Well, if pirates have shown up and messed with you, that might be one reason why.
Honestly, I would love them to. I
You
have
guys
had
are too
such a
small, the
clean
pirates don't
record.
even bother you.
Ugh, I have had such a clean record in Star Citizen. Like, I'm a cargo hauler. I demand there be pirates trying to pirate my cargo, else the cargo running doesn't feel good. Like it's boring. It's just A to B.
Okay.
Like
So go ahead. I'm
a
sorry. So, from your perspective, what are the big advantages of running a small org? What is it that you think is uniquely better about being in a small org?
better. Like I think small orgs, at least our small org, don't plan on being small orgs. Like there
Okay.
are friend groups that are orgs, but like those are just friend groups, and they'll like be on, and be off, and like be orgs only, a part-time org.
Okay.
I don't know of any small orgs I've ever been a part of, and I've been a part of at least like this would be like the third or something. They never plan to be small orgs. They always have higher aspirations. They're just currently a small org, or they're stuck somewhere doing something. Like I from this talk, there's like a dozen or so things that we can improve. Um,
All things that you didn't realize.
no, a lot of things I didn't realize. A lot of things that like now I know how to get to point B when I was stuck at point A, point five. Um, yeah, I don't know if a lot of orgs plan to be small orgs. I think it's more of a that's just their current state. And I've seen a lot of like I've never seen a small org say, yeah, this is we're capping it at 30 people and we're not going to let anyone else in. This is the organization as is. It's always
Okay.
been, as soon as we can get people in the door, we'll be doing this.
Do you think that small org leaders are starting to realize that may never happen?
Um, I don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't really speak to like other small org people
Well,
as their current emotional state, but like use like small orgs are like the nope, there was sentences there that completely went away. But they spring up fast and they fall apart fast. Like
okay.
especially like up to that 50 person kind of level until you really get to somewhere near there. Like the I imagine there's a lot of orgs that are currently dead on the website that are below that 50 people mark that have sprung up on whatever events or whatever. Like, hey, I really like this game. I want to get more people into it. And they're like, do this thing. And then they just won't nurture it at all. And it will just kind of fizzle out or fall apart. And they just don't go
Do you,
back to it.
do you want to hear what the stats actually are?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Um, how many paid accounts do you think there are in Star Citizen today?
I saw this the other day too. There's like three.
People with packages, not how many accounts have been created. How many accounts have a game package on it and can join an org?
See, because there's a lot more like there's alt accounts and things as well.
Well, sure, sure, sure.
I'm just gonna go with 3 million.
Okay.
So guys, what?
So there's 5.3 million accounts total.
Okay, so it's somewhere near.
Hold on. Less than 2.5 have a game package.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
What percentage of those do you think are in an org?
a minority for sure.
A vast minority.
Let's go 23%.
10.
Hmm.
So about 250,000.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of that 250,000 are in the top 5 orgs?
So yours is almost 100,000.
10,000.
10,000. Same difference. Let's all win zero. Zero
Okay.
doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
Probably the majority then that would mean, yeah.
Well, about 25% are in the
Okay,
top
so not
5
majority.
orgs.
Okay.
Okay. If you went to the top 15 orgs, it would be about half.
Hmm.
So half of all the people that are in orgs are in the top 15 or 16 orgs.
Hmm.
And we know that in the last 6 years, only one org has been able to to move into that top 10 list.
That does put it like a weird kind of like statistical spin on a lot of things that. And this is Nazeris. I don't like mega orgs. Like they just kind of like sop up people and they just kind of like.
Well, but are they sopping up people or are they providing an experience? I mean,
Tomato, potato? I don't know.
okay, fair enough. No, I mean, look, I'm not
Yeah.
trying, I was in a small org. I started a small org, we
Yeah.
only had about 80 to 100 people day one. We weren't huge. It's, there's nothing wrong with being a small org. I'm just saying that, it's, but the reality is that like and this ratio that you're seeing is all MMOs. This is, you go look at WoW during its launch, you go look at Eve, you go look at this, and you see that the big boys sop up about 20 to 25% of the active people that are in a group. And then the top half are, the next 20 or 30 groups, whatever, depending on the size of the groups. And then the bottom half is, 10,000 orgs. Most of which have 2 people in it. So, that's the secret that I think a lot of, that ratio of diminishing returns is the same over gaming. It's not something that's special for Star Citizen.
Yeah.
It's just something you see in the distribution of gaming groups.
No, I completely expect that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
For your opinion, then, do you think it's worth trying to make a small org into a bigger org, or do you think it's better spent to integrate into a bigger org?
Well, I'm biased in that respect.
So if it was ADI and you said, hey, Test Squadron, let's just say that they were aligned with all your views, right? Okay, let's just assume that. I know. Let's just assume that for the get to go.
Yeah,
and they were doing everything you were doing, but they had, whatever, 10 times as many people as you do.
Okay.
And so because you're basically the same org, they just have more people. Would you integrate ADI?
It would have to be something you'd have to consider. I don't know, 2 juggernauts integrating together is a lot different than 100-person group deciding to join a 10,000 person group. I mean, there's, they're a competitor even if they do everything the same way I do it.
Yeah.
They're
FedEx and UPS.
Yeah, we're both big enough that I don't need them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, from that perspective, maybe, but, at the end of the day, that's a question that the org leader and the org members have to ask themselves that are in the smaller orgs is what is your best bet for achieving your overarching goals and having fun? And org mergers are rough. There's no, I mean, we do probably 4 or 5 org mergers a year. And, there are always hiccups with it. It never goes smoothly.
Yeah, I can imagine. And somebody runs that org. And I imagine, well, no, there's a for sure amount of 100% of the time, whoever's merging into the bigger org is not going to own the org still.
No, it's so, but it's a question of, do you want to be a medium-sized cog in a massive machine, or do you want to be the big cog in a machine that's only got a cog?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's the real question that, and you can't, there is no right answer. There's, what is the answer for us? Right? And is this the right fit? And it's oftentimes not the right fit. My big issue is that your bigger problem is a lot of the 100-person org leaders think that they can get to 10,000. That in their heart of hearts, they think, well, if they did it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I can tell you as somebody that runs a massive org, if I were to leave ADI, and even if I could take all of the knowledge I have now and the tech that I have now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I could get to 2000 before launch.
Okay.
So all the tricks of the trade, all of the, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Do you know what the secret is to big orgs? We automate everything. You quit our org, within an hour, your Discord access is revoked. You get kicked off the server, and I don't have to do anything.
Boy, that'd be nice.
The,
Oh,
you
wow.
know, that's the difference. That's how we don't spend time managing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We spend time managing people. And even if I could take all of those cool toys, all of the automation that we have, all of the knowledge and, you know, statistical information and all that stuff. Because, you know, there's a, for a given org, there's a certain time of day that you want to look for new players. And it's probably not the time of day that you're thinking of.
Is it?
Because it's not the time that they're playing. Because
No,
that's
because
not,
they're busy.
they're busy.
You want them to be like sitting at their desk at work,
Bored
hating
out
their
of their
job,
mind.
and on their phone.
Yes, exactly. But I know from experience,
Like that comes from
statistically,
streaming, and that's how I know that.
yeah, but that's the thing is I know from a statistical analysis with lots and lots of data,
Mm-hmm.
where are my targeted time frames that I want to reach people. If I want a European member, this is what I need to reach. If I want US members, this is when I need to reach them. If I want Australia members, this is when I need to reach them. And it's not when they're playing. And so even with all those tricks, I don't know that I could get to 2000 members if I had to start over from scratch by myself.
I also think that not that I don't want to say like well, you could, but there's also a period coming up pretty soon, especially the 1.0 and the especially post 1.0
Okay. Well, Squadron
periods.
42 going on sale.
That too.
That's going to be it.
Well, there's gonna be the Squadron hit, and then there's the post 1.0 hit, where a lot of people are going to come over.
Sure.
Like the internet is going to explode and melt down, and because lots of people love dunking on Star Citizen, and they'll finally like, oh, it's out. Oh, it's still bad for some reason.
Sure.
So there'll be like a bunch of player explosions.
Sure.
And if you're
There'll be
set
two.
up at
Just for the record, there's
two.
3 maybe, but 2 real big ones.
Yeah, and then you have much smaller explosions for episode 2 and 3, and then however the release cadence is going to be after that, there'll be smaller and smaller explosions.
The thing to keep in mind is the top 5 orgs win 20 to 25% of the new org members, and the top 40 orgs win 60%.
Yeah,
and the bottom, you know, and the bottom 25 to 30,000 orgs get the leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the problem that you run into, as I see it, okay, is that you can grow. You might be able to double in size. While the big org quadruples in size.
Yeah. There's also like the like mergers and things.
Sure.
You know, being the bigger fish or being the same size fish that eats the fish next to you. Terminologies. Sure. Like there is always the possibility, and this is playing into your whole small orgs think they can be big orgs.
No, it's just a reality.
Yeah.
Everybody running an org today.
I'm also a like chronically optimist, so
sure. Sure. I am
and
too.
So like there's always the possibility, and there always has to be the possibility of orgs moving up.
Sure.
Like you said, you started with 100 people, now you're at 10,000 people.
11 years later.
Um, and so that didn't happen because you got the community, because you had new people join, you
Sure.
had people merge in, and people left
Yes.
other orgs and things. So you had the ecosystem moved around, and you were just
Sure.
there for the people who wanted ADI's support.
Yes.
And so I think given time, I think things given time and
Winning the
support.
lottery.
I hate that. No. But if you give time and support, if you support the org, I
Sure.
think even given X years, let's just put like X years, you will grow. And
Yes. There's no doubt that all the orgs will grow. Some will completely fail, but others will grow.
mhm,
Figure, if we look at WoW or Eve numbers, figure 70% of orgs will fail over a 2-year period that
oh
are
wow.
small, by, under 50 people. And all those people will need to go somewhere else. And
Mhm.
then, and some percentage of them are going to want to stick with smaller orgs. And so you will have migrations of players happening. There's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that the numbers are static, and I'm not saying that there aren't going to be the next Nova that comes and goes from 300 members to 10,000 in 4 or 5 years. It's going to happen, but there's going to be 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not going to be 200 of them,
Right. No, for
let
sure.
alone
And from my perspective,
25,000.
oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And from
Okay.
my perspective, being one of those small orgs,
Sure.
it's I don't know if it's just delusions of grandeur or not, but like
Yes. Yes, it
if you
is.
set yourself if you set yourself up, and if you are doing the work, which I have lots of work to do over the next couple months,
Yep.
in the org specifically, not only the stuff we mentioned here, but stuff I already had planned, to get the org like back on the track and progressing again. Um, like it seems worth to me to try,
Well,
at
I'm
least
not
for now.
discouraging you from trying. That's
Like,
if you're motivated to do it, go do it.
yeah, like there's if there's going to be 1 or 2 orgs that make it to that 10,000 mark, why not NovaForge? Like, why not my org?
I, that's a question you are the only one that can answer.
Right. And like, I don't even know where this argument was going, but like,
I'm in agreement, dude.
yeah, like,
I'm just talking from a statistics perspective. I'm not
yeah,
saying that there aren't going to be success stories. I'm just saying there's going to be 4 or 5 success stories, not 25,000 success stories.
mm-hmm,
That's all. And, that, you very well, and I hope you are one of the orgs that is the success story. I'm not sitting here saying that it's bad. I'm just saying here and saying, with what I know now and all the tools in my toolbox, if I went back to 0 members, I
mm-hmm,
don't know that I could get to 2,000 members before go live.
yeah, no,
And
yeah,
you
like
know,
on a pure numbers basis, yes, that is a
knowing
sane
everything that I
argument.
know,
Yeah,
all the little tricks of the trade on how to recruit and how to build and how to set something up, and I could take all my documentation, and I still don't think it would get. I would be hard pressed to get to 2,000 members in the
I think
time
it
that we
would.
have
I
left.
think it would almost hurt having all the things you have now, going back to 0. If you went back to 0, I think all the stuff you have,
Oh, but there's so many mistakes I made that I wouldn't make.
for
That's the
sure.
thing. There's all
But
these
like
life lessons.
being at a 10,000 person level,
Hmm.
and then having to find person number 2 again, and then build up, like, you have this framework, you have this way of doing things. There is not a 0% chance, but there's a very, very low chance that whatever emotional change that you have gone through since you've built ADI,
Perspective change. That's
perspective change, like,
it.
you it won't be the same organization, and so things will have to be done differently. So taking all the knowledge you have you're gonna have to change some of those documents and some of those knowledge to
Sure.
fit your new org and how it works.
Completely agree. But even knowing all of that and knowing what where generally I'd need to turn the dials at each
Mm-hmm.
different phase, I don't know that I could do it. Even if I had everything in my toolbox that I know up until this point. That's all I'm saying. And maybe that's because maybe I'm got a fallacy. Maybe it would be super easy to repeat. My gut tells me from my experience that I don't know that if you forced me to start over with all the knowledge and all the tools and access to everything that I have access to today, that I could get to more than 2,000 members. I think I could get to 2,000, but I don't think I could get to 10.
No, that makes sense.
And so,
like it's and then like most of that is just like, are the people actually there?
the people are there, and there'll be more people coming.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is can you convince them to join you? Will they buy what you're selling? And can you get that question in front of them so they have the choice to make? So, so how, you're a small org. I think you agree that you'll be a small org for a little while, at least, best case.
Yeah.
How are you going to be competitive in a situation as we get closer to go live, beta, and then 1.0? How are you going to be competitive in a game where you've got these massive orgs out there that can throw their weight around?
I've asked myself the same question, haven't come up with an answer yet. Because like if I'm running cargo, right? Even if I have the entire 30-person org dedicated to a cargo run, why not go to a org that's 20 times, 100 times the size, who can field not only a hull E, but also a couple refueling trucks and a couple of fighters and some liberators to help refuel the fighters? Like, what does the small org have? What does NovaForge have that they don't? And how does being here help someone more than being there? And it's obviously not a manpower question. It's obviously not a skill question. So what is it that I could do? And I haven't come up with a good answer yet, other than personality wise. But as you showed, like most of the personnel things, like interpersonal things, are navigatable for big orgs. Just I haven't seen a lot navigate them as well as you guys have.
Well, or I'm, crazy and, just completely delusional. One of the two.
One of the two, for sure. But yeah,
Either we're
like,
doing it successfully or I'm delusional and think we are, but people aren't quitting in droves. How about that?
yeah.
So,
I mean, that's kind of like what I've seen, even with people who have come from, even me from big orgs. Like, there's not a lot of people quitting. They'll just kind of like they'll be in that scenario and they'll just kind of like find the people they like playing with and they'll play with them within the structure of the org.
yeah,
So it'll just end up just being a themed Discord for them. Instead of like running with the ops or something, they'll just find people who do the same thing and like build their
sure.
own little like, hey, I'm just getting on Thursday and their friends will be there. So it just ends up being a themed or themed Discord for them to go play Stars, isn't it?
Well, but it's the problem that you run into is that that works if you've got a really tight knit 10-person group or maybe even smaller, where they're on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Wednesdays between certain hours. And that group, they just so happen all 7 or all 10 of them have those same days, or the vast majority of them that they play those 3 nights. The problem you have is some guy has a kid or gets married or goes to college and they can no longer play on 2 of those nights.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they do? Because none of their friends are on when they want to play, when they have free time. Big orgs don't, what they're good at is giving you an environment where if you have to switch to Tuesday nights because of work or real life,
Mm-hmm.
there's a different group of guys that you can get to know after a week or so and play with and that's your Tuesday night group. And that's the only big difference is that you give everybody more opportunities to network and still have a close knit group that they're playing with on a given night or a given time frame, and they just have more of them. Instead of having one, they've got 3 or 4 different little groups that they're integrating in, and that's what big orgs have. I think that, and everybody is singing from the same sheet of music. They're all using the same brevity. They know what the lingo is in the org, and they know kind of here's how we do X because they get training on that, and so you have that.
I've only ever seen that kind of a harmony above the staff level.
Really?
Yes. I've always seen it where it starts at the staff level and up when those people are like a single unit of org power, and then you have everyone below that is, show up or don't. It's basically just like you have your field mice, and then you have everyone who actually runs the org.
I am so sorry you've had such bad experiences. I could probably name some of the orgs you've been in, but I'm sorry you've had some bad experiences.
And it's not just in. I've had one org across all the games I've played, and this is only technically my first. This is technically my first MMO.
Okay.
And I've also played Dual Universe, and I've only found one other org that was not like that.
Okay.
But they were also a builder, or like it was in Dual Universe, and their entire org was just building stuff
together.
Yeah.
Coordinated.
Well, together, but like it was more like, hey, we have the industry guys who like doing industry stuff, so they're over there making the resources for all the designers who like designing stuff to do their stuff, and you just go say they had like a whole form you could do, and you submitted like, hey, I need these voxels and things, and they would send it in, and you'd get a little ping once your voxels were done to build with.
I want to really thank you, Nazeris, for coming in. Naze. I'm awful with names. I'm just awful. Naze, okay. I'd like to thank you for coming in and sharing your insights. And I hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah, I always like talking about Star Citizen. It's I could talk about Star Citizen if I could get paid for it, I could do it all day, every day.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I could do that, but I'm glad that you're so excited. But no, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me, and we're going to have you back at another time to talk about something else.
I really appreciate the invite. Thank you so much.
Thanks.